Genesis chapter 20, verse 1 through chapter 21, verse 7. From there, Abraham traveled to the region of the Negev and settled between Kadesh and Shur. While he lived in Gerar, Abraham said about his wife Sarah, "She is my sister." So Abimelech, king of Gerar, had Sarah brought to him. But God came to Abimelech in a dream by night and said to him, "You are about to die because of the woman you have taken, for she is a married woman." Now Abimelech had not approached her, so he said, "Lord, would you destroy a nation even though it is innocent? Didn't he himself say to me, 'She is my sister'? And she herself said, 'He is my brother.' I did this with a clear conscience and clean hands." Then God said to him in the dream, "Yes, I know that you did this with a clear conscience. I have also kept you from sinning against me. Therefore, I have not let you touch her. Now return the man's wife, for he is a prophet, and he will pray for you, and you will live. But if you do not return her, know that you will certainly die, you and all who are yours." Early in the morning, Abimelech got up, called all his servants together, and personally told them all these things, and the men were terrified. Then Abimelech called Abraham in and said to him, "What have you done to us? How did I sin against you, that you have brought such enormous guilt on me, on my kingdom? You have done things to me that should never be done." Abimelech also said to Abraham, "What did you intend when you did this thing?" Abraham replied, "I thought, there is absolutely no fear of God in this place. They will kill me because of my wife. Besides, she is my sister, the daughter of my father, though not the daughter of my mother, and she became my wife. So when God had me wander from my father's house, I said to her, 'Show your loyalty to me wherever we go, and say about me, he is my brother.'" Then Abimelech took sheep and cattle and male and female slaves, gave them to Abraham, and returned his wife Sarah to him. Abimelech said, "Look, my land is before you. Settle wherever you want." And he said to Sarah, "Look, I am giving your brother 1,000 pieces of silver. It is verification of your honor. To all who are with you, you are fully vindicated." Then Abraham prayed to God, and God healed Abimelech, his wife, his female slaves, so that they could bear children. For the Lord had completely closed all the wombs in Abimelech's household on account of Sarah, Abraham's wife. The Lord came to Sarah as he had said, and the Lord did for Sarah what he had promised. Sarah became pregnant and bore a son to Abraham in his old age at the appointed time God had told him. Abraham named his son, who was born unto him, the one Sarah bore to him, Isaac. When his son Isaac was 8 days old, Abraham circumcised him, as God commanded him. Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born to him. Sarah said, "God has made me laugh, and everyone who hears will laugh with me." She also said, "Who would have told Abraham that Sarah would nurse children? Yet I have borne a son for him in his old age." Sarah was the mother of Isaac and the wife of Abraham, who was known as the father of the faithful. Sarah, who was childless until she was 90 years old, did not believe God's promise of Abraham. Actually, I find it funny. The promise is that she would be called a mother of nations, though conceiving and bearing a son, aiding in God's faithfulness to Abraham. Sarah knew that her husband had faith in God. She even went along with Abraham, wanting to uproot her and move to town so she could follow his passion of serving God. But it seemed that Abraham went too far when his leadership of their household resulted in awkward scenarios for Sarah, such as risking her safety to save them. Abraham pursued a promise that was physically impossible for Sarah, a baby, a mother of nations. At age 90, yes, it made her laugh. So that is what she did, up until the point that her pregnancy was undeniable. She had to laugh. Although a son was promised to Abraham through Sarah, they both laughed at this promise. It was too extraordinary for them to accept. When God did what he said he'd do, they did what God told them to do. They named the baby Isaac, which means he laughs. Have you ever found it hard to take God seriously? Have your life situations ever been so ironic that they are laughable? Or even just found it hard believing that the Father knows what he's talking about? In our laughter, we often forget that God does not fail. We must be submissive and obedient to God in our journey, even when it does not make sense or seem possible. The reliability of God's promise to us is just as dependable as his promise to Abraham. They may feel just as impossible, but they are just as faithful.